Hannah, thank you for joining me. For those who don't know, can you please just introduce yourself and give us your background, please?
Absolutely. So I'm Hannah. I'm one of the founders of Kiroku alongside Jay, my co-founder. My background was in dentistry. So I graduated about 8 years ago from Bristol Dental School, did my VT in central London, did my DCT at Barts in London, and then, I went into practice for a very short period of time and then soon started exploring how technology could be applied to make some of the inefficiencies in dentistry a little bit better. I couldn't really wrap my head around how much of my time was spent staring at a screen doing really repetitive paperwork, and that's what started me on the road to Grogu.
Okay, so what is Kiroku? What do you do? What product do you offer?
So we are a software company for dentists, which helps automate record keeping and just making that entire process far more seamless for both the dentist and the patient as well. So our product uses AI to recognize patterns in what you're doing over and over again to then make intelligent suggestions based on that. And so it's a huge time saver. So we reduce the time spent on record keeping by 2/3. But interestingly, our dentist actually just described the fact that they can actually concentrate on their patient and what their patient is saying. They're actually provided this structure to go through their appointment, so they're not forgetting things. And again, because it's outputting these intelligent suggestions, it's quite often acting as a prompt and a reminder so that you're not forgetting things, particularly when there's a lot going on in an appointment. So that is broadly speaking what Karoku does.
Okay, and one of the things that people might worry about is how compliant they remain with these notes. So,
Yeah.
how can you comment on that? What can you say on that point?
So we can say that actually our dentists report that their notes are significantly more thorough when they're using Heroku, because it's outputting all of this information into their notes based on what they're historically have been doing. And the thing that's really interesting is, I can comment on this personally. I, as a dentist, will quite often give the exact same spiel of what perio is, for example, to a patient over and over again. And I might make minor adjustments depending on certain things, but largely I'm using the same language to describe it. And then, sometimes, but not always, I'm using the same language to then type that up into my notes. But quite often, because we're so rushed, you either have to prioritize giving the information to the patient or writing it up. And just again, from speaking to hundreds of dentists, what dentists are doing is they're prioritizing providing really good quality care. Are they always capturing that they've said all of those things in their notes? Perhaps not, because they just don't have the time. So what Karoku is doing is it allows them to focus on actually providing that care. And it is just populating and cascading information into the parts of the notes that they are doing over and over again. That's giving that information, but it's just helping automate the recording of that.
Okay, and some dentists might feel that this is another expense, it's another service that they have to offer
Yeah,
to their clinicians. Um, is there a return on investment for Kuroku?
absolutely. So Karoku costs the product that I've described, that helps with record keeping, costs about £25 per clinician per month, which, like you say, is an extra expense, and we don't, shy away from that. But ultimately, it comes down to how much the dentist values their own time, because a dentist's time is extremely valuable, and if you can save them a proportion of time that is being spent doing really repetitive work, then they can actually either go home on time and they can see more patients. But the time that we are saving per day is about half an hour per dentist per day. If you calculate what you can do with that additional time, this is very conservatively, a dentist can make an additional 25K a year. So £25 a month becomes a very tiny drop in the ocean, in terms of return on investment. And then, that's purely what you do with that time. But it's also the very important thing, which is probably harder to quantify, is actually the peace of mind of knowing okay, I don't have to go home worrying about what I've included in my notes because everything's there. And I would argue that's even more. I mean, I would pay more to have that peace of mind because I can't tell you how many times prior to Kiroku I would go home and be falling asleep and suddenly remember, oh my God, did I write this in my notes? So yeah, it just alleviates all of that.
Yeah, no, I can completely understand that. Um, so automated notes have, as you kind of mentioned, have been a dream for many clinicians. So
Mm.
what is it up to now? Things they haven't quite worked, or it hasn't quite taken off. What is it that Kiroku does differently that makes it
Yeah.
so unique?
I think it's just our approach has been quite different because, when I originally said at the start Kuroko was about 4 years old, but the product that people know and love is 2 years old, is because we were focusing on voice technology for a period of time before that. Could you listen to the conversation, generate the notes? And the thing that we found, or the challenge that we overlooked, was actually how difficult it would be to get good quality audio in a loud dental clinical environment. And I think that has been one approach that many companies have taken. And and I think perhaps specific to dentistry, that's why it's been so hard to progress and actually provide something that's genuinely making people's lives easier. So I think changing our approach as we did about 2 years ago has helped massively. And then I think in terms of why we've been able to have success so far, I think two main things I would say. First is we I can't tell you how much we prioritize what our customers tell us. We are constantly listening to what our dentists say, and we're constantly changing our product based on that. And I think that obviously gets you to a place where you've got a product that's actually serving people better because you're actually listening to what they need and the things that they want improved on. So I think that's one element that has kind of got us to a place where people are finding Kiroku useful. And then I think the thing that is then providing further like evolution over time is the data and how we can apply that. And so that's just learning more and more information about what each individual dentist is doing and then making their template optimized based on that. And we've had 1 million appointments that have gone through Kiroku systems. So that just gives you a kind of an overview of the depth of how we can use that information to better our dentist user experience.
Okay. In my limited experience, what I found is that there's two types of people. There's people that embrace new technology, and there's
Mm.
those people that shy away from it. Um, Kiroku is essentially new technology. It's new software. So, what kind of support do you offer to people, and how easy is it to use?
Yeah, very, very good question. One that I kind of um, don't want to minimize the effort that it takes to adopt something that's new. Um, Very broadly speaking, I would say that including anything new into your workflow is going to be difficult because you just need to adjust to a new process. And I think that's made even more difficult when you consider how busy dentists actually are. They're extremely time poor people, which is actually ironically why Kiroku is so helpful for them. But then it also becomes harder to learn a new system and get involved. That said, I think this is such a big problem for dentists that they are very willing. They are kind of desperate for a solution and therefore able to kind of overcome that challenge of trying something new. And again, to go to your point, which is the kind of two types of people, I wouldn't even say there's just two types of people. I think they're the kind of two ends of the spectrum and there's everyone in between. And yeah, absolutely. I think the people who will have picked up Kiroku earlier will have been those kind of early adopters, the ones who are kind of more willing to try something new and be the ones telling their friends about this new technology. And I think gradually as we're growing, we're getting to that point where it's a lot of dentists have now heard of Kiroku through friends and colleagues. And so again, there's more of an impetus because there's lots of people that they trust and respect who have had a good experience with it, so they're then talking about it. But of course, the more we kind of get along that spectrum to people who don't like engaging with new technology, they will require more handholding, which which leads me on to your next part of the question, which was the support we provide. And that is something that we really, really pride ourselves on at Kiroku, because our support is always helped by dentists. So there's always dentists on the team. So if any request that we've got, we're here during all working hours. We're actually quite often reply on weekends and in evenings as well. But if there's any queries that our dentists have, they can just message us through an instant messenger, and we will be there to support them. If they prefer being on a call, they send us their number and we'll jump on a call with them. We'll jump on a video call with them. But we really are here to do what we can. And the very important thing that, again, I want to stress is we have so many dentists in the team. So when you've got a request about how to set up a workflow or how to get started, we really do have that expert knowledge of, well, this is what we found to be effective, or this is what I do when I'm in practice. And I think that provides real guidance to our new Kiroku dentists as well.
Perfect. Thank you, Hannah. Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight? Anything specifically about Kiroku that you wanted to just draw attention to?
Very good question, but I'm not sure it's one I necessarily have an answer ready for.
That's
Um,
fine. I mean, what we can.
Actually, I suppose one thing that would probably be important to mention, which is Kiroku, this doesn't need to be a practice-wide decision because it runs in Google Chrome. It works alongside any dental practice management software. You, as an individual dentist, can make the decision to give this a go. And we try and make that as easy as possible because when you sign up for Kiroku, you can have a free month trial. So you can, I mean, it will ask for you to sign up to the program, but once you've signed up, you've got a month just to play around with it and find if this is something that works effectively for you. And if it is, fantastic, great, it's worth it for you. If it's not, absolutely nothing lost in giving it a go. And the other thing I'd say is there's no tie-in contractually. We don't tie you in for a year or anything like that. It's monthly rolling. If you're finding it valuable, excellent. If you're not, no issue at all. So we try and make things as easy as possible. And really the thing that we hope actually ties in our dentist to using Kiroku is just the fact that their life is easier with it rather than they've contractually got to stay on for a year.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hannah, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us about Kiroku.
No problem. Thank you for having me.